One of my favorite game series is The Legend of Zelda. It's my favorite Nintendo series in any event. So when I saw that there was an indie game that was sort of kind of in the style of Ocarina of Time, and it was only $5 and some change, I had to take a look. But what I found was a bit undercooked. Let's talk about it. Valkie 64 was developed and published by Glade. I'm not really sure if I pronounced that right, so I'm sorry if I fucked it up. And it looks like this is their one and only game. I couldn't find any other information on this developer, but I assume it's only one single person. Correct me if I'm wrong. The game starts off by giving us a bit of background for the story. The Goddess of Order and the Goddess of Chaos once ruled side by side, but then one day the Goddess of Chaos attacked the Goddess of Order. Who could have possibly seen that coming? And there was a big war between the reptile people of the Chaos Army and the Guardians of the Order Army. Ultimately, the Order Army won, but with one surviving Guardian. That's you. You are Valkie, the last of the Guardians, and the Army of Chaos has risen again. That's basically the whole story. There really isn't anything else. No story developments throughout the game, no interesting twists or turns. That's pretty much just it. It's not especially interesting. And that kind of sets the tone for how the rest of this game is going to go. The gameplay is just kind of bland. It's not terrible. It's not even really bad. It's just mediocre. Basically, you have to go through these four worlds. There's the forest world, the fire world, the ice world, and the desert world. Go through that world's dungeon, beat the boss, grab the gem it drops, and then move on to the next one. Grab all 4 gems, and you can go to the final boss's world. There's a little bit more to it than that, but not much. In each world, there's a town you can go to with a shop and a few characters to speak to. None of the characters are interesting at all, though, and in fact, I barely even noticed that any of them had names. There's nothing even really interesting about going to a new area. No sweeping panoramic view with a name of the area that pops up or anything. It's just, boom, you're here now. Not even so much as a simple fade to black. A few of the NPCs do give you side quests of sorts, but they're all just fetched quests that are really boring to do. Your reward for each of them is a heart piece. Yeah, this game wears its inspiration on its sleeve. It's the embodiment of the "can I copy your homework" meme. You only need 2 heart pieces for a heart container here, though, so you end up getting a lot of them really quickly. And there's no fanfare or really any feedback when you pick up an item except for a little message on the bottom of the screen that says you have whatever it is you picked up now. That's pretty much it, though, the dungeons and the fetch quests. There's a few hidden dungeons that have certain conditions that need to be met before they can be opened, like this one in the grasslands where you either have to have a lot of hearts or have beaten 2 bosses before it'll open. This one's really the only place I found interesting. You have to find and kill these 3 flowers that spit fire at you to open this gate, where you'll have to kill more flowers. Do that, and you'll get these special wings, which lets you fast travel to any town you've found or to the central hub. It's harder than it sounds, and it's really the only time I felt like the gameplay matched the inspiration. The dungeons are fine. The idea is to go from room to room killing monsters and looking for a bronze, silver, and gold key. In true Zelda fashion, each dungeon does have a map you can find in a chest, but there aren't really any puzzles or anything that makes each dungeon stand out from the others except the texture work. This works well enough in a boomer shooter, but not in an action-adventure game like this. There isn't even any feedback when you hit a switch, nothing that indicates what it does. It's not especially difficult to figure it out because the dungeons are really simplistically designed, but it still would have been nice to see the camera cut away to see bars being lifted from a door or something. If you do end up dying in a dungeon, you do have to start back from the beginning. You still have all the keys you found, but any door you previously opened is locked again, and any barred door that could only be opened by a switch or killing all the enemies in a room is barred again, so you have to do all that all over again. Since the dungeons are so short, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but the repetition can get kind of annoying. The bosses are visually well enough designed, but none of them have any interesting mechanics that make them feel unique or even fun to fight. You pretty much just use the same tactic for every boss. Hit, dodge, hit, dodge, hit, dodge, repeat. And even then, most times you really don't even have to dodge. Which brings us to the overall feel of the combat. It's bland. There are two types of sword attacks. There's horizontal slashes and vertical slashes. Vertical slashes do more damage, but are best against a single opponent, and horizontal slashes don't do as much damage, but can hit more enemies. There is a combo system in place where the more consecutive hits you get on an enemy, the more damage you do, but they all have to be the same type of attack. If you try to combine horizontal and vertical slashes, your combo multiplier resets. That is not how combos are supposed to work, and this just results in you mashing the same button over and over and over. It's boring. You can lock onto an enemy and move around and dodge its attacks, but this doesn't work more times than it does. You can also parry an attack, but the animation is very slow, so you have a very tiny window to make it work. You can buy the ability to parry faster, but you won't even be able to get it until later in the game, and only if you grind for not rupees. Yeah, after you beat the game's first boss, you get the ability to buy abilities. There are 4 in total you can buy, and 2 of them you can't even buy until you get the bigger wallet, which you get for beating the ice boss. The other 2 modify how some of the potions work. So let's talk for a bit about the potions. There are 3 types of potions in the game: health, haste, berserk. None of these can be used manually. The health potion works like a red fairy does in most Zelda games. When you die, you get immediately revived, but only with 3 hearts. One of the abilities you can buy increases this to 6 hearts. The haste potion takes effect as soon as you buy it and lasts until you get hit. Like the name suggests, it makes you move faster and takes away the speed penalty you get when you have your weapon drawn. Then there's an ability you can buy which makes the haste potion last until you die rather than until you get hit. And then there's the berserk potion.
My love for you is like a truck berserker. Would you like some making buck berserker?
Which doubles your damage output, but reduces the drop rate for hearts, which is already kind of low, and the effect ends entirely if you touch water for some reason, and there's nothing you can buy to modify how this one works. I would have preferred a system where you earned these upgrades instead of having to grind not rupees to buy them. Some side quests, not fetch quests, with these as rewards would have made them feel more, well, rewarding. There's an old adage, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all, and with that in mind, I do actually have some nice things to say about this game. The game does have a sprint button, which I like. You don't even have to hold it, and there's no limit to it or anything. There's no downside to it, and there's really no reason you shouldn't be using it all the time. I also really like the music and sound design. The music is really atmospheric for what it's trying to go for, and I think it's really done well. The overall look of the game really nails the N64 vibes as well. I don't have one, so I can't prove it, but I feel like this game will look amazing on a CRT. Great job there. The main character and the enemies and bosses are all really well designed visually for the most part, even if the townspeople NPCs are all forgettable at best. Overall, I feel like Valkie 64 has a lot of potential, but it's a lot of unrealized potential. From what little I could tell about the developer, I think this might be their first game, and I hope it isn't their last, because I really want to see what they could do with the lessons they may have learned from this game. It would be really interesting to see them take this concept, clean it up, give it some much-needed polish, and add a few ideas of their own that aren't taken directly from some other game, and do something neat with it. But as it stands with this game, it feels like it doesn't understand what made the game it took so much direct inspiration from so special, and it doesn't do anything well enough on its own to make itself stand out. It feels more like a bare-bones NES game trying to be an N64 game than anything else. In fact, I think if Multiglade made this to look and feel more like an NES game, it could have been better received. It's not a bad game. It runs really well and nothing is broken, but I also wouldn't go so far as to call it a good game either, and that's sad. It's just kind of fine. It's only $5 and some change on Steam, so I'd say it's worth a playthrough if you really, really like the genre, or if you really like supporting indie devs, which you should. You do, don't you? So yeah, there's Valkie 64. I wish I had more nice things to say about it, but if it's a thing you're charging money for, even if it's not a lot of money, I get to critique it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment thing, and if you want to join the Discord where we talk about retro games, indie games, physical media, movies, comic books, and all kinds of other shit, the link will be down in the thing. It's where you can also watch me record footage for these videos if you want. The Darkness 2 video is still well underway. I'm about a third of the way done with recording, but I wanted to get this one out first. I've been sitting on it for a little while. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.